Stretch your imagination and challenge reality. Abnormal realities are beacons for the imagination. What society deems abnormal may be more real than we think. This is Abnormal Realities with your hosts, Ron Phillips and Rocky Stucci.
So I just, you okay there, Brother Phillips?
I'm okay. Yeah, it was just a little bumpy to start off with, but I got it. We got it worked out.
All right, I was going to come over and give you a hug before everything started.
The producer job is never like easily done. But you know this. You've produced your own shows before.
I make it look good.
Then I screw it up.
It just becomes.
But I got it. I got it now.
You got a lot of buttons over there, brother.
I
Hey,
do.
folks, welcome to the program. Abnormal Realities right here. Ron Phillips, Rocky Stucci.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to.
What is that?
Hi. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. It's Tuesday night. It's been a long weekend, folks. A long weekend. But we're working some stuff out. So,
let's get into it.
it's going to be a fantastic show, by the way.
So Clyde Lewis is a name well known around the country. Somebody who is very similar to us when it comes to delving into all realms of reality and maybe not so much of mainstream reality, right? So we got a lot going on behind the scenes, and we got a hold of Clyde, the agency. I mean, what a badass bunch of people, man.
Oh, man. Fantastic.
Yep, first class.
We appreciate it, by the way.
We have the opportunity on we're going in some rabbit holes. We're going to go in some rabbit holes tonight. So check this out, Ground Zero. Everybody know Ground Zero?
Clyde Lewis, everybody.
Ground Zero. Clyde, brother.
You guys. God, it's good to be on your show, really.
Clyde, you see that?
Thank you.
It's the intro, the double skip, and I'm off now.
I
All of a sudden,
saw
I
it,
feel
yeah.
unbalanced.
You know what? It was worth the wait. I was just sitting there watching it going, this is amazing. I wish I had that kind of stuff on I do a public access thing here in town, and not like that. That's too cool for me. I was like, just astonished how cool it was. So thank you. Whoever did that. Who did that? That looked great.
Flattering.
This guy
Thank
Oh,
you.
was that you?
Yes, sir.
Was that you, Ron? Or was that,
Oh,
Rocky,
no,
was that you?
not me. Hell no. I just talk, brother.
That was you, Ron?
Yes,
you
sir.
The producer?
Yes, sir.
Oh, my God. I love producers. That's how I started. I started as a producer. And somebody said, oh, you got talent to do the front stuff. And I'm going, no, I don't. And now I'm doing it. And I'm happy. So it's good.
Well,
So I love producers.
Yeah,
Thank
it
you.
is important to know the background just as much as the front. You know what I mean? There's a lot.
Exactly.
there's a lot going on in the back. You know what I'm saying, Phil?
Yeah,
Exactly.
and the thing is because I actually host this show with Rocky where I produce only, 10 other shows. But sitting in front of the microphone, producing at the same time, Rocky's done it. I'm sure you've done it. It's not as easy as it may look.
No.
That's right. Now I'm high and mighty. I have somebody else do it for me. They push the buttons, pull the change. I just stand there going, all right, I'm me.
Yeah, it was really funny because I remember when I was doing the Situation Room, and then I started doing it with Don and Donna, and you started producing it full
I did,
time. That was the first time, Clyde, that
Rocky was like, I don't know what to do.
I was freaked out. You're so used to worrying about 15 things while trying to have a conversation with somebody, and all of a sudden you don't have to do anything, and you feel really uncomfortable for like 2 weeks.
And I'm old school too, man. I go back to the razor blades and the carts.
Oh,
and the
yeah,
push
that's
button
me.
Stuff. And
That's me,
yeah,
man.
that's you too. Yeah,
Cut and
we're
tape,
all old school, and it's all you youngins out there that know how to run a board and know how to do things the right way. We're just talent. We don't know anything. We're just we can't get a job at Hooters, so what else can we do, right?
Well,
that's a good point. Now.
Hold on, now
No, that's a good point, dude. Have you seen me?
Yeah, I'm saying we probably could.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I can too, but I'm trying to lose weight to get rid of that problem.
In this day
I've
and
been
age.
doing this now for a while, so I hope that helps.
I just had another. See, I got visions.
Do you need a notepad?
A live stream of us serving
I hope
tables
you
at
don't have
Hooters.
that kind of vision, Rocky, please. I don't like that vision either when I wake up in the morning, dude, and my wife is tolerating it. So
He's
please.
always coming up with these weird ideas about like walking through a mall dressed as priests
Yeah, I did.
and blessing people. And now I sense we're about to do something at Hooters, but I don't know.
Yeah, we'll go.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll make it look good.
I'm sorry, I'm planting little seeds in your little minds.
I already see it. Both you guys walking. You're coming around the corner of a bar. I got everything in slow motion. Really cool music. Good visual effects.
Okay.
All right, so
Why are you getting Grammys for this stuff or Emmys? I don't get it.
I was told to behave.
There's a
Clyde.
reason, Clyde. There's a reason.
Well, let me know when that reason comes through, because I want some of that money.
Right. All right, brother. I got to tell you something. I have tremendous respect for you. There's a reason why we can sit here and laugh, is because we jump into the jungle of the matrix of trying to figure this world out.
True. Yep.
And, we understand how venomous that is. And so that's one thing about this show too, that we take great honor on, is that, man, we can just not give a shit, and we could just be human beings and say some crazy things, and we all laugh together, and it generates like a family thing, and you understand exactly what I'm saying, right?
I think a lot of people don't realize that, because I used to do a thing at the end of my show called On Beyond Zero, and people used to always say, Clyde curses, he swears, he's got a dirty mind, what the hell?
Yep.
And I'm thinking, well, we're all normal people. We're just trying to make sense of everything.
Right.
And I mean, I used to be a comedy writer long before I was into the paranormal. I kind of think of myself as, I may act and produce like Orson Welles, but I'm kind of like a Dan Aykroyd in a way, because I have the same attitudes, and I see a lot of humor in it, but I see also a lot of seriousness. I always tell people I could be kidding, but I'm very serious about what I kid about. And I think that should be the attitude of everybody, is that, when you're dealing with things like the paranormal, and we were discussing this before we started the show, it's not just trying to convince others that the experiences are happening. It's trying to convince yourself in a lot of ways, because when you have a paranormal experience, you're trying to piece together, first of all, what has happened to you, and you argue with yourself as to what the logical explanation is. Right. If there's no logical explanation, it's like what was said before, when I think it was like Sherlock Holmes that said, what is not normal, we have to go beyond that. And like you guys say, abnormal or paranormal. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the times things sometimes are indistinguishable from magic. And if we do find an explanation, sometimes it doesn't even take the fun out of it. It makes it even more interesting. Like quantum physics, for example. I've been really reading up about quantum entanglement, quantum physics, Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. All these things prove a paranormal. I mean, if you really pull things together, you'll understand that things like superposition or panpsychism or all these things, they're all becoming serious science now. And there's a reason, because it's always been there. It's just no one's had the cojones to step forward and say, look, people are having these experiences. Don't discount them.
Right. Ron pulled up an article the other day, Clyde, because, if we're going to talk about one thing, we want to understand the entirety of it, right? So he pulls up an article about pseudoscience, the pseudoscience of the paranormal field. And,
it set him completely off.
Well, because it bothers me, brother, because when you start talking about quantum physics and you start talking about, things in depth of something like that.
Yeah.
That article literally was written on such an uneducated level, and it was comparing it to the most amateurish field, people in the paranormal field. Chasing blinking chest, flashlights and lighty glowy thingies, and I'm not saying that's bad, because I ain't gonna lie, I still bring some of that stuff with me too. You know what I mean? Because it just creates a little excitement for what we're doing.
Yeah.
But there is something more than what we understand. And that's where I was going to go with this show, because it is a spiritual thing. It's a personal thing. It's an evolution thing. I ran into an interview today with you where you interviewed Scott Bennett. I've known Scott Bennett for probably 6 years. And you said something at the very first segment of your show, and it popped in my head, because you referenced that there's times that we believe when we turn these microphones on and we get in depth of these conversations and we explore and we have conversations, that we think that we're actually helping change the world. And sometimes we feel defeated. And you mentioned something like that in that first segment. So I thought that I wanted to ask you this, is that there is this evolutionary process with the individual in the radio industry, if they survive long enough.
Right.
I've been doing this for probably 6, 7, 8 years. Mm-hmm. I have changed 45 times, but I do feel every change is for the better of me and an understanding of the world I'm trying to explore. What was your evolution process from the days of comedy, and then you jump into rabbit holes, and then we get caught up in that mess for a portion of our life, and then we have to learn how to deal with it, stay rational, and keep our damn minds through the process, right?
Well, I always tell people that when I first came up with the idea to do Ground Zero, it was nothing more than a show where I wanted to try and disprove the lies that my father told me. And what I mean by that is my father was, involved in Bircher meetings, and he was involved with talking about, paranormal things, and didn't believe we landed on the moon and all these things like that. And I thought, wow, that's kind of crazy, all this talk my father gave me. And so I figured every show that I do will be about that. We're going to explore some of the things, anything from jackalopes to Bigfoot to, you name it. And then what caused my metamorphosis is this is a true story. It was in, I did this show back in 1995, started on April 1st, 1995. We're doing weekends, and it wasn't a weekly show. It was just weekends. And I went to Las Vegas, and I remember going to Vegas, and I lost my ass. I just lost a lot of money in Vegas.
We all do that, Clyde. You know that.
Yeah, it was
right?
one of my first times in Vegas. I lost a lot of money. So I went and had the loser lunch. They don't have them anymore, I don't think. But the loser lunch is like for 99 cents, you get a hot dog and some chips and nacho sauce and a Coke, right? And so I went and had the loser lunch. And the loser lunch didn't agree with me. So I'm sitting on a plane. The plane's hot because it's a hot day in Vegas, of course, like it always is.
Uh-oh.
Plane's hot. We're flying through the air. I was sickly, falling asleep, and there's heat in the cabin. They didn't air condition the cabin for some reason. All of a sudden, the plane starts having turbulence.
Start shaking up your hot dog.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Start shaking up the hot dog. Start shaking up the chips.
Nice one, bro.
And yeah, you guys high five because you've been there. Yeah, I know. Anyway, so I'm laying there, trying not to nod off or throw up, whichever comes first. Yeah. And all of a sudden, there's an announcement comes over the speakers. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. I have some sad news. And I'm thinking, holy God, they're going to drop the oxygen mask. We're dead, right? Because the plane's shuddering and crazy, and it's hot. I'm sick. We're going to die. But no, the guy said, the captain said, we just got word that Princess Diana had died in a car crash in France.
Oh, I remember that. I remember exactly where I was when that happened. Yeah.
Yeah. I was on a plane flying back.
That was in 97, right?
Yeah, 97.
Yeah. Wow, they announced it on a plane.
Yeah.
Yeah, they announced it on, I don't know why he decided it was okay to announce it on the plane, but he did. And what was odd is I was sitting next to this guy, British accent. It was coincidental. He says, they finally did it. I go, what do you mean they finally did it? The royals killed Princess Diana. They have murdered her. And he's going on and on about why he felt that she was murdered because she was with Dodi Al-Fayed, and he said, we believe she was pregnant with his baby. You can't have a Muslim baby with the kingdom, and going on and on and on and on about this. So I thought, I was intrigued because I had no idea. And I decided to do some studying about the royals and the bloodlines and their little medieval plays that they do, and the Holy Grail and things, really Da Vinci Code stuff, right? Right. And I got I had friends in England, so I called them and I said, what are your thoughts? Oh, we think she was murdered too. And then got into the whole thing about how she died at a place called Pont des Almes Tunnel, which means the Bridge of Souls. And that in the medieval times, if you were killed there, your body would immediately go to heaven because you were a warrior and you died there. And then they used this, it was like the torch statue that's part of the Statue of Liberty. And they use that torch thing, which, of course, the Statue of Liberty represents Isis, Semiramis, Diana. And coincidentally, they made a monument and a memorial to her there. And I'm just like thinking, everything is just bizarre. And that she was considered the Holy Grail, England's rose, carrying the princes. And I'm thinking, wow, this is some really scary Antichrist type stuff, right? Yeah. And so I just was so fascinated with it. I hooked up with a lot of people that were involved with, Grail lore and all this. And it just really got me ensconced in this. I go, there's something about the bloodlines. There's something about conspiracy theory. There's something about the hidden things that Benjamin Disraeli talked about and all these other people talked about.
The hidden hand kind of stuff.
Illuminati and what's that?
The hidden hand kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah. Hidden hand. You're right.
Yep.
And that's what was my metamorphosis really was, even though I would jokingly talk about UFOs or I jokingly talk about ghost appearances and all this, it was Princess Diana's death that really threw me for a loop because I had no clue that there was that kind of stuff going on. I didn't even know why the royals were even important. And then I realized the reason why they're important is because they see themselves as being divine lineages to Jesus Christ, divine lineages to Joseph of Arimathea. And I was like blown away going, they really believe this? Why? Well, because they believe that Jesus had babies, that he had a wife, and that they gave birth to kids in France, and all of the royals
we did a whole show on that once and set the whole world off. It was crazy.
But they believe it. I mean, Prince Charles probably and Prince William believe that they are directly bloodline to King David. It's called Anglo-Israelism. And that to me, I mean, that signifies to me that if they believe that they are it's like the vicar of Christ is in place of Christ. That's what the Pope is. But if they believe that they're divinely linked to Jesus, what does that make them? It makes them antichrists. It makes them counterfeit saviors. And all of our presidents, all of our rulers, the popes, all have bloodlines from the family of bloodlines. And that to me just freaked me out. I would never become president of the United States because I don't think I have the right bloodline. Or, that you can trace, I mean, even Barack Obama has bloodline links to royalty through his mother. So it just boggles the mind that there's a secret, like you said, Rocky, hidden hand that certainly is behind everything. And that's what set me off looking into this, the hidden hand and who's behind things and why we get the information we get. And it just set me off to the point where I always wanted to be ahead of the game. I want to know more, and I always try to report more when I do my show. So,
and sometimes it sucks, some of the information that you find out because it goes against, I mean, you literally have to unindoctrinate yourself to try to understand the world for what it really represents. And you know what, honestly, there's some beautiful things that happen, and I never want to overshadow that. People, we have listeners right now, brother, that have been with us for years and their family. I mean, the world has good things happening, but when you jump into the realm of the rulers, it is a vicious, sick, disgusting, vile, and dangerous ass world.
Oh yeah, I mean, everything that they say QAnon has come up with is not new. When they say things like, they drink the blood of babies and they abuse children. Yeah, that's been going on for a long time. They used to have what they call brain drops, where they would take skulls of people and they grind them up and they'd put them into drops, and the royals would drink them. It was called body therapy, corpse therapy, zombie therapy. I don't know. They used to do all kinds of crazy things in the medieval times, and this has been going on with the royals for a long period of time.
Dude, that's creepy, actually.
No.
Kind of freaks me out.
It is. I mean,
but it's intriguing too. I mean, because there's this whole perception, but this whole world of stuff that's going on. I mean, look, we've talked about it for the government, we've talked about it for royalty, we've talked about it in history. There's this whole realm of things going on that's just outside comprehension for people like you and
that's me. The thing that freaks me out the most is the complacency of society in general that just accept everything for face value.
Look at the legends that we grow up with, okay? Look at the legends and stories we grow up with. For example, Little Red Riding Hood is a perfect example, and I've talked about this before. So you look at Little Red Riding Hood, okay? Little Red Riding Hood is about a little girl that takes bread and wine to her grandmother in a picnic basket, right? And she's got a red hood, and she gets visited by a wolf, all right? Now, that just sounds like a typical story, but when you replace that bread and wine with the body of Christ, and you say that red hood was a priest wearing the old red hoods, going down to the forest to deliver the sacrament to grandma, come to find out grandma is possessed by a shape-shifting werewolf, then the story completely changes. That in the old days, they had something called the Malleus Maleficarum, where it was a book where they learned how to kill vampires and werewolves because vampires and werewolves allegedly existed back then. Well, they weren't like what we saw in Hollywood. They were the nobility that would hid behind the scenes. That's why Vlad Tepes, Count Dracula, is such an interesting story. Why? Because he was a Christian prince who knew how to drink the blood of the Muslim horde. And so that's what made him Dracula. Okay, that's what made him the blood drinker he is. And if you notice that everyone who's involved with either being a werewolf or a royal person or some of nobility is either talked about as being, well, the werewolf is nobility, the vampire is nobility. You look at what is it, the frog and the princess? What is the frog's the prince? Why? He's kind of a reptilian. You kiss him, he becomes a real person. The Beauty and the Beast. The idea that the beast is a werewolf and the woman is trying to change him back into becoming someone that is not evil. The werewolf, the vampire, and all that are all representations of the satanic bloodlines that need to be switched and converted over to Christianity. And that's the whole point of the story, is that you're always dealing in these paranormal attitudes and ideas that are about bringing everybody back in line with what God wants. And that's the point. The paranormal is very real. It's just they've reduced it down to fairy tale.
I will never, ever, ever think of Disney the same way again.
I hate Disney.
Nursery rhymes.
Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. You know what that was about, right? It was about they found this dead woman.
He's about to ruin this for me. He's about to ruin this for me.
They find this dead woman, and this prince falls in love with her, and he wants to, it's necrophilia. It's what it's about. It's about a prince that marries a dead woman. I mean, if you read the original story, it's kind of sick. It's like, a weaker
I feel
sex.
sad now.
Necrophilia.
I'm sad now. I don't know what to do.
You never knew that. You didn't know that when you were having on. I was going to talk about necrophilia, but
Hey, man, we talk about all of it on this show.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, yep. I get in trouble.
He does.
I'm glad I'm not the only one. I just worry sometimes when I'm on the air. I was going, Clyde's talking about necrophilia. Oh my God!
Man.
Yeah,
you ain't got nothing on Rocky, Clyde.
Come on, bring it in. Let's go. Yep, I usually get in trouble at least 3 times a week. That's all right, though.
Okay.
So,
all right.
I don't even know where to go after the whole Seven Dwarfs thing.
Are you devastated now?
So you were telling us a story about ghost hunting before the show, Clyde. Kind of get into that a little bit, because you got injured by a ghost, right?
Well, you guys were asking me if I go out on ghost hunts, and the answer is yes, but now no. I'm, like I said, I'm learning that I'm not 17 anymore. I'm going to be 58 this February 22nd, 2/22/22/22. So I think maybe I'll explode on that day because of synchronicity of numbers. But anyway, no. What happened was that I just got out of the hospital. I mean, it's no secret that I've had various bouts with cancer in my life, and for some reason I continue to live. I continue fighting, and that's a good thing. But I had kidney cancer, and I had to have a surgery. And I had just gotten out of surgery about 3 or 4 weeks out. And I remember the first time I had cancer surgery, I went on a DB Cooper hunt, which was funny. But I had people helping me out when I went on it. But this time I went to Martinez, California, which is in the Bay Area. It's just under the tunnel and over the other side near Mount Diablo. And the reason why we went there was because we were going to investigate the Zodiac Killer. And there was a group of people that ran the Martinez Gazette saying that the Martinez Gazette was haunted by a ghost who claimed to be Richard Gaikowski. Richard Gaikowski, if you do any research on the Zodiac, is one of the suspects. Somebody thought that Richard Gaikowski was a suspect. Now a group from Hollywood is saying it isn't, but I have it on good authority from the guy who's investigated this, that Gaikowski is the killer. Oh. So we went to, and he ran the Martinez Gazette.
That's a whole
So we went to the Martinez Gazette to do an investigation as to whether or not the ghost was haunting. And it certainly had a lot of haunting going on there. We experienced it. It was really scary. Well, we brought a group. We had 2 ghost hunting groups. One was from the Northwest. The other was from San Francisco. And we were all together in this one place doing the ghost investigation. And I was told that I was going to do a live feed from there. So I was doing a live show. I was actually on Sirius XM at the time. And I was on many radio stations across the country. But Sirius XM, of course, had me on too. And that night they pulled the plug on me and people were scared. But anyway, I'll get into that in just a minute. But what happened is that in the middle of the investigation, we had the ghost hunters doing the investigation. I was doing a show. And I overheard one of the ghost investigators, because there was a woman in the group, and she came on, and she just all of a sudden, in the middle of the interview, stopped, just went silent, and just kind of looked at me with these glossy eyes like this.
Oh, boy.
Okay, that's freaking me out.
Okay, you get it right. So she did that. And I'm like going, are you okay?
Yeah.
Are you all right? Hello, are you okay? And she just got up, tears in her eyes, and went off and cried.
Oh, no.
And I'm like going, oh, God. And so then the phone started ringing.
Wow.
The cell phones all started ringing. And come to find out, it was at the time my wife now, but my fiance calling and wondering how I was doing. She got some sort of a disturbance in the force.
Yep.
What had happened is I'm sitting there, and one of the ghost hunters said something like, "Well, you're attacking this woman. What? You only attack the weaker of the group. Come attack me." And I was the weaker of the group because I just got out of the hospital, right? I was not. I mean, I was trying to maintain here. And so what happened is I all of a sudden felt something grab me by the neck. It was choking me off, and I couldn't breathe. And I thought it was a panic attack at first because I'm thinking, I said on the air, I'm having a panic attack. Then I started crying. I mean, tears were coming down. I was overwhelmed with it. And I said, we have to go to a break. I can't do this. It's whatever. And so I got up, I kicked off my shoes. I put my feet in the mud. I got to this tree and I blew chunks. I was just throwing up.
Holy cow.
And what happened was that after they did the ghost investigation and everything was back to normal again, it was funny because I went off the air. Sirius XM was going to pull my show anyway. They pulled the plug right after I did that. I guess they thought this guy's an asshole idiot. But anyway, so they pulled me. Everybody was worried that maybe I had died or something had happened to me. After the whole ghost hunt situation, everybody wanted to go celebrate their, you know how after you have a ghost hunt, everybody wants to get together and have pancakes. So everybody went to this greasy spoon to have pancakes. I just sat in the car the whole time, shoving my head out, throwing up every time I had the opportunity. But for some reason, whatever it was, it took me over. And I just reduced my ghost hunting since then. I haven't really gone out. I've had other people go out. And, you know, we really, since COVID, we really haven't gone out and we haven't done any investigations. In fact, that killed investigations literally because nobody wanted to go out in the COVID situation and spread, you know, COVID. So I really haven't done anything really. And people always ask, well, why don't you do ghost shows anymore? Well, because there aren't any ghost shows. There's not any ghost news because nobody's out doing the ghost hunts. And if they are, they're getting paid to be on the Discovery Channel. Otherwise, nobody's doing it. So, so I would do it, but I would have to do it with limits. I wouldn't be able to just go out and be adventurous and run and jump on rocks because, I mean, there was another situation where I went to investigate the Maury Island UFO incident, and I actually stepped off some wood that was near the Puget Sound. I fell and I twisted my ankle, and it was really bad. I had to be flown. Well, actually, they were going to fly me in by helicopter, but they had to get an ambulance to go across the bridge, come get me, and then take me back to Tacoma, where I was in a Tacoma hospital. And it was just too much of a hassle. So now I just focus my sights on reporting it and let the other guys go in and do the ghost work. So, yeah, I've had experiences. So,
you know, Ron brought up on one of the recent shows because we went up to the Hill House in Mineral Wells, which is a really, really active house. And Ron, he asked me on the show, he wanted me to explain because I would not go upstairs by myself. I have at times this overwhelming fear that goes through my body. And similar to what you're talking about, Clyde, I had an experience where it literally like changed me. I mean, completely changed me. And it's so significant that there's no going back. And I find myself in this huge exploration of questions, just trying to understand everything and how it works and everything works. And I remember Ron said on the show one time, because Ron really wants an experience because he's jumping in full throttle with this, but he's looking for something to give him the drive to continue pursuing forward.
Correct.
And I asked him, I'm like, are you sure you understand what
I'm asking for?
You know?
And I don't think I do. I don't think I understand what I'm asking for. Rocky tells me that when I know it, it will change me. And that's
right.
fine.
Well, and sometimes though you need to have people point it out to you, or don't expect things to go the way you expect them to. And what I mean by that is, like, for example, we went on a ghost hunt at a place called Fat City. It's this restaurant that's in a place called Multnomah Village. And apparently a woman named Vivian, a waitress there, was shot and killed by a guy who they were having some sort of a tryst, that was going on where this guy thought that Vivian liked him and whatever. And when Vivian said, no, I am married, I'm happy, he followed her down the stairs and shot her in the back. Well, this was back in the 1960s, 1950s when this happened. And the crew was all saying, this place is haunted by Vivian. We want you to come and do an investigation. And we want you to try and contact Vivian. So we went downstairs, did some investigating, and yeah, we got some ghost activity. We had a ghost actually push a chair into the oven in the cooking area, and pots and pans flew everywhere. He said something, "I will not do it." You also hear it in the EVP, "I will not do it," and just a number of crazy stuff. We also got a silhouette of a woman under the stairs,
Wow.
and a few other things. But what was interesting is we kept on asking, "Are you Vivian? Are you Vivian? Are you Vivian?" And no answer. And so my wife, who actually is, she's got a lot of intuitive skills, she went upstairs. There was a jewelry place that was upstairs from the restaurant, and she was invited to go upstairs. She said, "Can I go upstairs? I want to do some investigating up there." So she took a recorder up there, and she was asking questions. And we listened back to the EVP, and when my wife says, "Is there anybody up there?" we heard the word Milo, Milo, something like that. It was sounding like, and then she says, "Well, why are you up here?" And she said, "The violence." She said, "The violence." It was a woman, the violence. And so we thought it was really cool that, we got some really loud EVP about this, and we were like listening to it and everything. And everybody's like going, "But where's Vivian?" And said, "Well, obviously the ghost that we found was not Vivian, somebody named Milo or Mayo." And she says she's upstairs hiding away from the violence and all this. Well, we talked about it on the air, and I said, we played the EVP and everything. And a guy was listening who was he was a film historian.
Yeah.
And he called the show and he said, "Where were you doing the investigation?" And I said, "We were at Fat City." And he says, is that on Capitol Highway? And I said, "Yeah, it's on Capitol Highway in Multnomah Village." He said, "And the ghost said her name was Milo or Mayo?" And I said, "Well, it sounds like Milo, or it could be Mayo. I don't know." He said, "Well, that's Humphrey Bogart's wife." I said, "What?"
What?
I go, how could that be Humphrey Bogart? What are you talking about? And he said, "Well, there was a woman by the name of Mayo Method who was married to Humphrey Bogart, and they were called the Battling Bogarts, and she even shot Bogart in the stomach with a gun because she thought, and he was, cheating on her with Lauren Bacall. And she after her and Humphrey Bogart broke up, she moved to a flat house that was above Fat City and drank herself to death." So we were expecting to do a contact with Vivian, but instead we got Mayo Method, who and she said that she was up here to escape the violence, and the violence was between her and Humphrey Bogart. And I went home and I did the whole investigation, and now at Fat City they actually have a picture of Mayo Method saying, "This place is haunted by Mayo Method," instead of being haunted by Vivian. So, they were thinking it was Vivian that was haunting the place. We found out it was Humphrey Bogart's wife.
Yeah, brother, let me ask you, if you don't mind, when you were talking about this and you go upstairs and you get this EVP, because this is one of the lingering questions that I can't get out of my mind. There are certain locations I go to where you know exactly where you're going to go get specific EVPs from specific entities, right? Do you have a theory? Have you ever thought about, why, certain locations, why are they there? Are their souls able to separate where their conscience can be at multiple places at one time in a spiritual side? Have you ever kind of gone down that road of thought and questioned
Well, that's called
why?
Superposition. That's called superposition, and it's something that's quantum. Even living people can have superposition. There's a lot of people don't talk about it, but living people can haunt as well. You can be seen in many places at once.
Yep.
And either you're aware of it or you're not. There's a guy by the name of Jason Quitt, who I've interviewed many times, who says that he's
quite honestly, it happened to Rocky once, and he wasn't aware of it.
Multiple times. No, it's happened to my wife. It happened to my wife 3 times, and then it happened in an investigation where everybody saw me going to the bathroom. They saw the bathroom door shut, and I was still actually in the house.
Yeah, it happens. It's called superposition, and it doesn't get talked about all that much, but it is part of the haunting process. That even if you're alive, you can haunt a place. And it's your consciousness. That's why they're opening the investigations into panpsychism and whether or not your consciousness can divide in substance and wind up in another dimension, and that you could be living in 2 dimensions at the same time, or 1 dimension at one time and have it, overlap to another dimension. And this type of stuff is new to a lot of people, and And that's why you can really tell when you're talking with people who's really learned in this and who just does this as a hobby.
Yep.
And I sometimes have a hard time with hobbyists. It's like whenever I see, like, for example, whenever I watch ghost hunting shows or when I'm out with ghost hunters and you hear somebody in the middle of the group go to the light, go to the light. I say, shut up. And they go, what's wrong? I go, quit it. Quit telling them to go to the light. And they go, no, they're supposed to go to the light. I say, okay, you go to the bathroom. And they go, what? I go to the bathroom. And they say, no. I said, well, that's how they feel when you tell them to go to the light. Go to the bathroom. They don't want to go to the light. That's why they're here. They have something to say. Okay. That's why they're here. Banishing them to the light doesn't make you any better or any worse. And I go, yeah, I watched Poltergeist too, and, just because a little munchkin said, go to the light, Carol Ann, doesn't mean that you say go to the light. And that's the problem, is that too many people, they watch Poltergeist or they watch some other show and they think that they're ghost hunters, when in reality, they don't know what the hell they're doing. They don't know about the rules they don't know about the rules of how to recognize a ghost from a demon or, from other spiritual entity that's toxic. And they always think that, Jesus Christ is the bleach for everything. I say in the name of Jesus, get me hence. It doesn't always work. Why?
Right.
Because we have tulpas now that are generated by people that have no responsibility to any god or to any deity. There's something we're conjured out of thin air, conjured out of the thoughts of mankind. And that's why if you watch a lot of horror movies lately, you don't see Satan.
Yeah.
This new show, what is it? Archive 81? Clago. You know who Clago is? No. Do you know who Buer is? Buer was a demon that they talked about in this show. Nobody knows who Buer is. King Paimon in Hereditary. No, you don't know who King Paimon is. These are all goetic demons that they're using now in movies and TV shows because they're scarier because you don't know how to get rid of them. And most people say, well, they'll all answer to Jesus. No, they don't. They don't all answer to Jesus. I mean, that's why it was hard to get rid of Pazuzu in The Exorcist, is because Pazuzu is a Mesopotamian demon that didn't even know who Jesus was.
Yep.
I got to go back and watch that.
I say that, brother. I say that all the time. We don't even have a clue of what we're dealing with sometimes when it comes to that kind of stuff.
I mean, some of them answer to that because they answer and they go away, and because sometimes faith can get rid of anything. It's faith is the bleach, I think, but. The thing that I've always said is sunshine cleans up most things, putting light on it, identifying it and not being afraid of it. But that's easier said than done, especially when you've got, something that's going to take you over and choke you. It's a different thing altogether.
Well, it's amazing how the power of the mind actually has a play with what we do. I mean, there was this one lady who and I believe her that she was having experiences with a more of a malevolent type of entity in her house. She thought she was being molested when she was sleeping and all that. And there was something there, brother, man. I was getting EVPs. There was something pounding on the counters. And her fear of this thing kept bringing it back. So I've done some work with some shamans in the past, and they showed me a lot of different things. So I came up with this little thing, and I knew it was psychological, but I put some of my crystals in an aspirin bottle. And I went and I gave it to her. And I told this lady, because her house was saturated with religious paraphernalia, and she was upset because it wasn't protecting her. And I straight up told her, brother, that it's not the material object that's going to protect you. It's your faith in that object, right? So I had to re-implement her faith into that aspirin bottle with crystals in it. And I told her, every time you feel that thing is around you, you shake this bottle. And it was gone. And it worked.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny you should mention that because because I've studied a lot about, warding off ghosts and what attracts them and what doesn't. And, everybody has those, what they call it, dream catchers in their house.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They attract ghosts. I don't know if you knew this.
I did not know that. Thank you. Crosses do?
Crosses do too.
I don't have
people have
crosses or
iconic
dream catchers.
paraphernalia in their house, like crosses. That attracts ghosts. It attracts demons. And also these little whatever attract demons and spirits you don't want in your house. Another thing that's interesting is that, you were saying that you gave that little bottle of crystals to ward off whatever it was in the house.
Correct.
Do you know that something as simple as putting a cake or a cookie in a cupboard keeps a ghost away?
Yeah.
Did you know that?
Why is that?
I have no clue. I was reading that in the medieval times, they would put cookies out for the ghosts, poltergeists especially, because it would make them happy. And I thought to myself, oh, that makes a lot of sense because people leave milk and cookies out for Santa Claus.
For Santa Claus, yeah.
Yeah, and it's because Santa at one time was not a happy little jolly guy. He was basically Krampus, and he was a little demon guy. So keeping the demons away is putting cookies and milk out for the demons, so nothing will happen. And so something as simple as putting a cookie in a cupboard will keep the poltergeist away. It's weird but true.
I love Christmas. I love Christmas. Don't. Just pretend you didn't. Okay. So now, hey, kids, leave the cookies out for hey.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to the show and not watching it, our guest tonight is Clyde Lewis. He's the host of, what do I have on here? Sorry.
Ground Zero?
Ground Zero.
No?
Ground Zero Radio.
Yeah.
Ground Zero Media is
if you want to listen to more
company.
of my madness, you go to aftermath.media and sign up. We have.
All right. Sorry for my confusion there, but I saw several different things, and I just want to make sure I had it right.
Oh, I'm involved with several different things, believe me.
Ground Zero Radio, but groundzeromedia.org is where they can find your stuff, right?
Yeah, you can read my stuff and listen to my stuff, and then if you miss my stuff, we have convenient subscriptions where you can listen at aftermath.media.
And I'll make sure that'll and I'll link all that up in all the different podcasts.
Yeah, because our show not only is in video form, but we also do an audio only show on iHeartRadio. So yeah, Clyde Lewis is with us tonight.
I'm better looking at audio, so I'm glad you do an audio.
Hey, so I got a question in regards to what you're talking about with the cookie, because understanding the mind and knowing whether it be some kind of myth or folklore or whatever it may be, it's all in the belief in the motion and action you're doing, right? So if you believe enough in the fact that you're putting a cookie, because people have done it for years and it seems to work for everybody else, you automatically know that now you have a protection. To some people it'll be a rosary, to some people it'll be a candle.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Well, but see, that's the thing, is Hollywood's taught you that. Hollywood has taught you use a crucifix or use a cross.
Correct.
Yeah, okay, well, I guess you can, or holy water or whatever, but always remember it's who officiates that just taking a cross and holding it up in front of a vampire is not going to work. I mean, they're breaking all the rules, I just had an interview with Nathaniel Gillis, and he and I were both, I was like really intrigued by what he had to say, because he was talking my language. He was saying to me the same thing I was saying to him, is that it depends on your faith. It depends on all those things. And yeah, you could throw a Bible, you could be Jesus on it and use a Bible to ward off a vampire or an alien or whatever you want. But, just holding up a cross is not going to scare him. Just throwing holy water on him is not going to burn him. I mean, that's a Hammer film. It's a Universal Studios film. What you have, though, is you have real spiritual warfare. And if that's the case, you need to have the faith. Otherwise, you're just going to bring it all upon yourself, because something that comes at you also comes from within you. And so if you feel you have the power to wipe out a demon, you can. But if you lean heavily on crutches like, Jesus or Bible or Allah or whoever, it's not going to work. You have to have faith in you. You have to be the one that's going to stand up and say, you know what, get the hell out. Yep.
It's facing your fears, but understanding why you have the fear.
And brother, right. I gotta tell you, Clyde, it is, and this, it's harder. It's not as easy as it sounds, right? Because I wouldn't go upstairs in a freaking house by myself, let alone like be spiritually ready to fight a demon. See, and that's the thing.
So you mentioned earlier about being able to tell the difference between a ghost and a demon. We've talked about that a little bit on the show. What are your thoughts as far as when you're having like an EVP conversation, how do you know whether it's a ghost or a demon?
I don't think you do unless you start hearing them doing things that, having a conversation with a ghost would be like having a conversation like we're having right now, only bits and pieces, because that's how they operate.
Right.
But when you're dealing with demons, there are so many other variables. Like they tell you things, it's called familiar stuff. They tell you things that build your ego, that build your your vanity, and they want you to do things. And I mean, it's arguable that I've always told people that demons can't read your mind, and everybody's, that they can, they can't. No, they can't. They know, though, your personality. Yeah. They know how they can tap into some of the idiosyncrasies you have, and that's the best they can do. But see, you can always do the opposite of what they expect you to do. And that's the thing, is that in order to beat a demon, you have to do to them what is not expected. And so, like, for example, if they put you in a situation where they want you to, like, for example, take a drug, okay? And they know that you have this addiction. All you have to do is refuse it and to let them know that you're not going to give in to, their promptings. And that's the point.
Because Rocky and I had a conversation once about some children that he was chatting with via EVP in a home that you thought were probably demons instead of children.
I'm sure you're familiar with this location, the Villisca Axe Murder House.
Yes.
So I've been there a couple times, and honestly, brother, I mean, I'm not an expert in anything, right? The only thing I ever speak of, and I got to say it a million times on this show, my thoughts are my thoughts, and that's it. I
and it's your
theorize my
personal experiences,
right?
Yeah.
When I was in that house, if somebody would ask me the difference between, what's more of a darker entity compared to just a ghost, I think my body can tell me that. You know what I mean? So when I was at the Villisca house, it was a different uncomfort. When I was at the Hill house, it was different. My body is reacting to it differently. And you get all these EVPs of these children, and I'm sorry. And I even say this to my Christian friends. And I says, where's all the angels? I mean, how possibly could an innocent old child who has done nothing wrong in life that got brutally murdered, where's the angels? Where are they to come and swoop them up? Why are they here over 100 years now in this home? And I don't believe that, because I believe people go to this location sincerely to try to entertain the children. They bring toys and candy and all that stuff. Well, they don't realize they're walking into a situation like that with their guard down, and they're vulnerable because they think they're talking. Yeah, that's just how I kind of theorize.
Well, and that's another thing. I think that another argument that I always bring forward when I'm talking about the paranormal is that you can call upon angels to come in and intervene if you want. If you have that power, if you have that faith, you can do it. A lot of people lack faith, and a lot of people want to substitute their spirituality for this ghost hunting stuff. That's not healthy. It's not healthy to say, oh, well, for my spiritual fulfillment, I go out and I talk to the dead. Well, not that much spiritual fulfillment in talking to the dead.
Yeah, it's kind of pretty.
The living are probably more important to talk to than dead right now.
He says, well,
I mean, I look at ghost hunting as a historical experience. I don't look at it as I want to go and talk to the dead and see how they're doing. I want a historical experience. I think that the dead have a lot to tell us about history. Their history.
What? It just dawned on me that's why I key in on ghost hunting. It's a historical experience. I'm not looking for it to scare me. I'm not looking to be scared. Quite honestly, I want to understand, one, how they got there, two, what their understanding is currently of the position that they're in. And I just want I want that experience. I want that historic knowledge.
Once, I'd like to hear in a ghost show. I'd like to hear in a ghost show, and it happens occasionally, but every once in a while when the ghost hunters come in on these ghost shows, it's always, so why do you think your place is haunted? And they say, well, a person died upstairs here. And I'm thinking, is that all you got? Yeah. A person died upstairs here?
That doesn't necessarily mean that.
That's the case. Every damn hospital's haunted because people die there every day.
Exactly.
And people die in homes every day. So every house should be haunted then. No, it's a historical death. It's a very violent death. Or give me some description on the historical background of this house, the historical background of why this place would be haunted. It's about history. It's not about death and dying. It's not about, this is my replacement for spirituality. This is the ability to use the information you get from ghost hunts to try and find something historical. That happened to us when we were doing a seance at a place. It was an old theater, an old mortuary that was converted into a bar. We did a seance there, and we found out this woman was walking around this place looking for her child. And she gave her name. Her name was Stella. And we were thinking, okay, this is interesting. And then after we did some research, we found out there was a woman named Stella who gave birth to a child. The child died in childbirth. We heard the child screaming in EVP. Come to find out that they separated the mother from the child, took the child to a funeral home that was way across the other side of Oregon, Portland, and they buried him in a different cemetery than her. Wow. And that's why she was looking for her child. It was the historical investigation as to why this woman was haunting this location that got us the story behind the haunting, rather than going, oh, that's a haunting. Well, go to the light. That doesn't do anything. That doesn't do anything for me. It doesn't do anything for any interest.
Ladies
at all.
and gentlemen, we're
that's why-
listening to Clyde Lewis from Ground Zero Radio. Go ahead, Rocky. I know you have a question.
It's an emotional attachment you become. I had a location I talk about on the show all the time called the Fernhill House.
Yeah,
And I had exclusivity to the location for over a year. And Clyde, it was the most haunted location I've ever investigated in my life. It was a regular
It's the
house
only
in
place he's ever
Minneapolis.
gone by himself.
Well, I didn't know
Right.
at the time when I first went. I used to go because they gave me the realtor box code because they weren't living there, so the house was empty as much as I wanted. I always said if science needs to prove that there is something more going on, that was the location to do it, right? But I became obsessed with it. And you said something earlier about how they kind of try to win you over a little bit, because I became emotionally attached to some of these entities in this home because they came through every time. It's like when I wasn't there, that's all I thought about. And I had after about a year, I had one of the most traumatic experiences in my life for another time. But it changed me, brother. I sleep with the light on.
Yeah, he does.
I do. I sleep with the light on.
I've traveled with him. Every light in the place is on.
When you feel like, when you talked about this,
Yeah.
when you
Right.
feel that, that's a whole new damn level, brother. You know what I'm saying? That's not a door shutting. That's not a coffee cup moving. That's not a knock on a wall or an EVP. That is physical. And when you feel the physical and the strength and the power of something that exists in a realm that we can't see here or barely even understand and don't even know for sure what the hell it is, it freaking changes you, brother.
Yeah.
It does. And that's why when people say, oh, come on, it's like, look, I'm still having an argument with myself as to what happened to me. I'm still having an argument with myself as to the number. I've had so many different experiences with ghosts and with spirits. I mean, I could tell you stories that have blown my mind, that by coincidence, I have found out who the ghosts are or what they were in life because I did the investigation rather than going in there thinking that I was going to clean a house. Or most people don't even want their ghosts to go away. That's what really bothers me. When I see, the ghost hunters going in and thinking they can take it upon themselves to banish these ghosts, I think to myself, well, most people don't want their ghosts to go away.
They've learned to live it. We've had guests on this show who have been walking through their house and see an image, a ghost, whatever you want to call it, of a person standing in a room just staring out the window, and she just goes on and makes her coffee. You know what I'm talking about.
I do.
I'm
just
like,
don't know,
are
man.
you kidding me right now?
I don't know.
How does that even work?
Yeah, I just don't know, because
it's like you're around a person.
I guess
like
so.
You're around, unless it's a poltergeist or it's something,
Or they're
that's
causing
angry,
problems. Yeah.
or they're causing problems. Yeah, it's like every time I've gone on a ghost hunt, I've asked the person, I said, does the ghost bother you? And if they say no, I say, then why are we here? So just to prove that I'm not losing my mind.
Right.
Okay. And I think that's the bottom line, is they want the acknowledgement. They want to know why these things are happening. And a lot of them, when you show them that this is why it's happening and it has nothing to do with the paranormal, they're disappointed.
Yep.
They're more disappointed that it was something
I can see
they
that
overlooked
100%.
Yeah.
than having a ghost in their house. And that's the thing. I really feel bad when I have to tell them, well, you know what that is? That's the fact that you opened your door and the air pressure changes, and that's why, something moved. And, whenever the door opens, that's when it happens.
Yeah. Or
that
freaking demon. That demon in your attic is a freaking squirrel, scratching on the wall.
That's right. I found your
that
demon.
that scarier rat than the ghost. I mean, I'd be more afraid of a rat up there than a ghost.
Hey, Clyde, we've got about 2 minutes left. Just want to give you the opportunity to let people know where they can find you, where they can hear your shows, read more about you, etc.
I am on about 175 stations across the country, broadcasting from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. Pacific time. Show's called Ground Zero. We're also on groundzero.radio. We're on groundzeromedia.org. And we have our own little digital playground that's called aftermath.media. What that is it's a library with reference materials, documents, secret documents, leaked documents. We've got video, and we've got study groups that feature a lot of great conspiracy theory writers and paranormal writers. We have their library groups. Plus, my show is available. If you miss it, you can listen to it in full stereo. It sounds great. Subscribe. It helps the show. It keeps us alive, and we're just so grateful for all the listeners that support us right now.
That is fantastic.
Yeah, man, I can't. There's so much that we could just go on and on and on about. The whole Princess Di thing is like a whole week's worth of material.
I know.
But brother, man, I appreciate you in the fact that you look beyond the scopes of reality to try to understand the world, and you speak through experience as well too. And coming from that person, man, I really appreciate it, and I appreciate what you do. And I know doing this radio like this all the time, it kind of challenges our life, our lifestyle, our souls, our thoughts, our minds, our sanity. And the people that do it day in and day out, in the grind, that's you, brother. So I appreciate the hell out of you. And
Clyde,
thank you so
stay
much.
with us. We'll be back. We thank you for being with us. We'll be right back to you. So hang on the line. Ladies and gentlemen, Clyde Lewis, Ground Zero Radio, fantastic
I need another
show.
4
Holy
hours.
crap,
Give me
dude.
another 4 hours.
We could do a week's worth of shows with this man.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Clyde. We appreciate it very much. Ladies and gentlemen, abnormalrealities.com is where you can find our show. OdysseyRadio.com is the new station we're putting up. Heck, we need to talk to Clyde, don't we?
Yes, we do. Folks, hey, we love the hell out of each and every one of you, man. Hang in there, abnormalrealities.com. The Meatball, Filippio, we're out of here, man. May God bless you. God bless America.
See you tomorrow night, guys.